Welcome back to ET Studios. I'm Himanshi Tiwari joining you from the Great India Retail Summit 2025. Now, from fast fashion to sustainable fashion, the industry is evolving and so must its supply chain. Circular supply chains aren't just about recycling, they're about creating systems that minimize waste, maximize efficiency, and still keep customers happy. So, today we explore how businesses can transition from a linear to a circular supply chain and why it is more than just an environmental checkbox. It's a business imperative. Now, joining me today for this particular session are Vikas Anand, MD DHL Supply Chain India, and Sanjay Vakaria, co founder and CEO at Spiker Lifestyle. Now, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining
Thank
us
you.
for this session. To start with, sustainability is the buzzword. And it is also no longer just nice to have thing, right? It has become business imperative. And consumers' preferences are also pushing brands to become more sustainable. From both of yours point of view, how are consumers sort of pushing your brands? How do you know that what do they demand in terms of sustainability now? Starting with you.
Yep. I think when you look at sustainability and when we talk to various customers of ours and the CEOs, and even if I was to ask Sanjay, sustainability will be something that is a business enabler, because most of the Gen Z and the new uh, future customers would seriously believe in that. And as a supply chain company, what we are trying to do is to build sustainability into how we store, how we transport, and how we think. So from that perspective, whatever we store, as I said, large part of warehouses are now running on solar panels, for example. So if you have a solar panel on the warehouse, the electricity is generated through solar. India is blessed with a lot of sunlight, and therefore solar power is the way to go. And as I speak right now, a large portion of our warehousing footprint runs on solar. In addition to that, you can do many sustainable things within the box, within the warehouse box. For example, you can put skylights. 6% skylights on the roof means that you need not put bulbs during the day. You need directional traffic flow, waterless urinals, paperless environment, many things in the
Hmm.
box. And what you do is, from a transport perspective, a large fleet is now EV, for example.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for me, the real green is when an EV is charged in a warehouse which runs on solar.
Yeah.
Then it is
Yeah.
real
Yeah.
green.
Yeah.
So I think multiple things that we are trying to do. And as I always say, you are never green when you are running a scooter and you are putting into a plug in a house, because that comes from coal. You are really green when you are putting a plug and the energy is coming from solar. Then you are really green.
Yeah. And from your perspective, see, you've been with Spiker for 33 years. You founded that brand, right? You have seen it all, like how the consumer expectations have changed throughout all these years. Right now, they're really, do you think that they're really pushing the boundaries in terms of asking the brands that they want everything to be more sustainable?
Yeah, so as you know, Spiker is primarily pivoted on denims,
Yeah.
and denim has always been one of the bad boys as far as environment is
Yeah.
concerned.
Yeah.
That's how people perceive it,
Yeah.
uh, primarily because the amount of water that's consumed to actually process a pair of jeans, and uh, the various chemicals which go into processing the product. Uh, but basically, that's kind of the perception that people have. Denim as a business and as an industry overall through the world have taken very serious measures on sustainability. And I believe for sure that one of the most aggressive industry to have led the sustainability efforts and drive has been the denim industry and the entire value chain. So a lot of processes that were kind of till yesterday done manually,
Hmm.
and which was harmful to the
Hmm.
labor who was actually doing the process. A lot of chemicals which are discharged into, say, various streams and rivers uh, have now been kind of curtailed to a very large extent.
Hmm.
And Spiker has been at the forefront,
Hmm.
right from using laser
Hmm.
technology, our the entire treatment plants that we have put up, uh, a lot of automation in the process, and more importantly, now to wash a pair of jeans, we are using barely one glass of water.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
So human service has been done from the entire supply chain side of it to ensure that we can protect the environment as much as possible. and that's something that we need to communicate to the consumers. To your question, I think the younger audience is a lot more. How do I put it? They are pretty woke
Hmm.
in the space of sustainability.
Yeah.
They genuinely are very concerned,
Hmm.
and from that perspective, there is a serious push from the customers towards the brands
Hmm.
to ensure that whatever they are buying or whatever we are making has a very considerable thought and angle of sustainability in it. Having said that, that is the same customer who are also demanding fast fashion.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so there's
yeah.
a dichotomy at
Yeah.
play, because at one end you are talking about sustainability,
Yeah.
and at the far end you are talking about
Fast
fast
fashion.
fashion,
Yeah.
where clothing and fashion is the largest contributor to the landfills.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here I feel that denim as a category is probably a savior, because you really have to dump your denim, otherwise it keeps on getting
Yeah,
better as you
bet-
use.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in real sense, denim actually is slow fashion.
Yeah.
And right now, if as we speak, there is a huge movement in US where people are trying to consume less.
Less. Yeah.
And I feel slow fashion probably is one of the ways to ensure that we really don't get so aggressive on disposing our merchandise, you know. And there I think Spiker plays a large role, because the quality that we kind of churn out does not really need you to dump your denim so fast.
Hmm.
So we are one of the best as far as quality is concerned. We denim doesn't really have so much of obsolescence in terms of trends and fashion, and so from all these areas there's a tick box on sustainability.
Hmm.
But to answer your question in a short way, there is a huge push from the customers, and we have, as an industry, as a brand, done a lot of work on sustainability and building as much guardrails around us
Hmm.
to ensure that the businesses do not happen and do not progress at the cost of environment.
Yeah.
And so whichever best possible way, we are putting it all in process. And I genuinely feel even one step towards sustainability is
Yeah.
a step in the right direction.
All right, as we're talking about slow fashion, the fast fashion and sustainability paradox, when we talk about sustainability and slow fashion, it also comes with an additional cost, even for the users, right? And talking about the manufacturers, it is believed that manufacturers often see sustainability as an added cost, right? So, if I may ask you, how can we make sustainable supply chains that are both profitable and also practical at the same point in time?
So as I said, I mean, even one step in the right direction is a good step.
Hmm.
So I personally feel that where we are all headed and the amount of consumerism that we see around us, it's really difficult to reverse the entire trend, you know. But I feel that the consciousness that we can bring in our business practices, as you also mentioned, that there are so many initiatives that you are taking to ensure that we use solar and we cut down on paper consumption and so on and so forth. I think all of that, if you're conscious about every aspect of our business, I think that's going to be a lot more than what we are currently doing. So whether we'll be able to completely reverse the trend,
Hmm.
maybe not,
Hmm.
but we can make it slower.
Yeah.
And as we speak and as we do, there's so much of work happening around the world on
Yeah.
creating sustainable options and opportunities. I'm very sure that a very conscious effort and conscious approach towards businesses will help us get there.
Yeah,
Well,
and if you take
yeah.
it further,
Yeah.
when you talked about cost,
Yeah.
when you look at transport is a huge polluter,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And that's the biggest
Hmm.
area of sustainability
Hmm.
from the government and from
Hmm.
large companies like ourselves. When you look at today, when you look at internal combustion engine versus an electric vehicle truck,
Hmm.
okay, we believe that by the year 2030, the economics will be so good that an EV truck could be cheaper by maybe 2, 3, 4, 5%, or equal to an ICE truck or an internal combustion engine truck. So that's the kind of cost equation that is happening. I think the battery prices are coming down. In India, there's a great ecosystem of electric vehicles that is being built by large truck
Yeah,
manufacturers
yeah,
in
yeah,
India,
yeah.
and that will change. So I think
Change,
it's
yeah.
not, we will see it in our lifetime.
Yeah.
And there's another data aspect I'll give you, that by 2040, so if you look at green, what is green from a transport perspective? You can do LNG,
Yeah.
you can do CNG, you can do hydrogen, you can do EV.
EV.
And when you look at the total fleet on the road,
Hmm.
or the vehicles on the road, we believe by 2040, 55% of the vehicles on the road will be within those sustainable boundaries. 2040, and
2040.
2040 is around the corner.
Yeah.
So I
yeah,
think right now you're right. Sustainability has a cost, but I
Yeah.
think we as DHL as a global company believe that
Yeah.
once the economies of scale come in,
Yeah.
and when I think that's the kind of equation that's happening. 2030 pricing becoming similar. 2040, 55% of the ecosystem will be thinking about trucks being green on Indian roads. I'm talking about, and this is not global. This is India.
All right, while you are talking, so much conviction comes in when you're talking about sustainability. And on that note, rightly said, see, logistics is also a major part of sustainability, right? If you want to make your supply chain sustainable, you'll have to look a lot at the logistics part as well. So do you think that EV fleets, you talked about EV fleets, then micro fulfillment centers and EV fleets, like what innovations right now can we do in these two things, and maybe other innovations in logistics as well to make it more sustainable?
Yeah. So when you look at, I think the good part in India, we are one of the world's largest users of two-wheelers, but by a mile, right? And there's a huge, fantastic ecosystem of that manufacturers in India. So as I speak to you from a DHL perspective,
yeah.
would you believe that 100% of our two-wheeler fleet is green? So we do not do any delivery from anywhere, whether it's a 2-hour delivery, 4-hour, same day, intracity, various forms of deliveries that you do, whether
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
to an end customer or to a warehouse, is green as I speak to you. So I think you have to have the will to make it happen, and the
Yeah.
ecosystem is supporting. There are micro solar plants which government is encouraging to put on your roof.
Yeah,
You can put it
yeah.
on a dark store. You can
Yeah.
put it on a warehouse. And my view is, as I said, if the warehouse is green and the energy is green, it really enables that. So I think the world it's changing pretty fast, and when you will see most of the time, the person who's delivering to you in your home,
Yeah.
many times if you go down, you will find that he's on an EV, on a
All right.
two-wheeler which is an EV.
All right,
Yeah.
manifesting that future for us, at least for our country, in the years to come. But speaking about now, I really want to get into now we are, since talking about sustainability, let's talk about packaging as well. Sustainable packaging is a hot topic right now, and consumers love it, right? I love it. I love sustainable packaging, but manufacturers like yourselves believe that it comes with a cost, right? So how can you sort of strike a balance between being eco-friendly and also being cost effective at the same point of
So
time?
not everything is expensive if you really go sustainable. There might be some areas which are more expensive than the current practices, but I think in packaging, a lot of work has happened, and we have been very successful at changing our packaging to suit the sustainability targets of ours, and they have not been at a cost which is additional to what we are currently spending. So I think there is this generalization that sustainability is going to be expensive, but yes, it would be in some places, but not in all. So I feel that we've kind of adopted a lot of methods and products which are sustainable, yet it's not kind of hitting us on our P&L.
Yeah. All right, on that note, I would like to come to you, Vikas. See, we are running in this conversation at this point in time because we have limited time. But thank you to both of you, first of all, for answering all my questions so efficiently and striking a right balance between being effective and also fast. Coming to you, Vikas, on that note, the Go Green dashboard and real-time tracking of sustainability metrics. This surely sounds interesting, but how can such tools help businesses in making informed decisions about controlling their carbon footprints?
Yeah, absolutely right. Whatever gets measured gets done. You know what? And we call it well to wheel, so
Yeah.
W2W. And this is like a global phenomena in terms of how you really capture your kilotons of carbon. I think so when you talk about dashboards and measurement, first thing is you have to do your baselining. So what is your current baseline on kilotons of carbon dioxide, right? So I think that's where you start, and you say, hey, you know what? This is non-green, and that's so.
Yeah.
I think the first step is to measure it, and
Yeah.
as a global company, what I can clearly see today is that if I've got an X kilotons of CO2 target for 2025, and I'm growing the company becomes threefold by 2030, but our carbon footprint has to crash down. So we measure that, and how do you measure it? So measuring is fine, but how do you do that? We do that with the initiatives about, as I spoke about, the solar panels, EVs, and investing in. I think sometimes it's a myth. Sometimes you can use solutions which can enable green as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's not just sometimes that you have to have it on an electric vehicle. The electric vehicle should also be efficient. You should have machine learning algorithms so that the vehicle doesn't run too much. If I have to do 20 pin codes, can I do it in 20 minutes versus 40 minutes? So the algorithms that we do on traffic, on machine learning, it will make our trips more faster and trips more efficient. That's saving, right? It's fuel saving.
Yeah.
Saving is the sustainability.
Yeah.
There's so many things, and that's how you measure it. So I think absolutely right. Whatever gets measured gets done.
All right. On that note, talking about sustainable or circular supply chain. So circular supply chains isn't just about materials; it is also about mindset, right? So how can brands in these logistics or supply chain companies can sort of collaborate to make sustainability the inherent part of their operations and not just talking about it?
So I can speak, say, from a product or a clothing perspective over here. I think when we were very young, there used to be this hand-me-down feature of ours where we used to wear clothes which were worn by probably our elders, elder brother, elder sister, and that's kind of gone and done away with, But we at Spiker are trying to bring that in again, and we have this exercise which are happening at our retail stores where customers can come and give us their pair of old jeans, and we will reuse it and we will refurbish it and then take it across and give it and donate it to people who probably currently are not having those merchandise.
Wow.
Right? So in a way it's more of hand downs, but it's going to a set of people who are in the need. And I think from a business perspective, I'm doing my bit towards helping circularity in that sense, where we are prolonging the process of it getting or ending into a landfill, say on day X, versus a lot further. So I think from a brand perspective, these are certain actionables that we've taken for ourselves as a goal. And like you also mentioned that we have actually audited ourselves on our carbon footprint as well.
Yeah.
And to create the baseline is very critical as to where we stand today. And we are taking our own, objectives and targets for every year as to where we want to be on a carbon footprint. So yeah, I mean, knowing what we are doing and where we are is very critical to make anything better. So measurability is absolutely so critical to the whole.
All right. See, I also want to touch upon, you are dealing with high production volumes, right? So is it possible to make it sustainable when you're dealing with high production volumes? I'm sure it is because you've been talking about it with a lot of conviction, but how?
So as I told you, the entire ecosystem of denims has taken on sustainability very, very seriously. So right from fabric manufacturers, yarn manufacturers, going to processors, chemical players, we at Spiker are using everything which is eco-friendly. So I told you, we have actually stopped manual labor as far as washing and processing is concerned. It's all automated now. Every single chemical that we are using currently is certified from an environment perspective. The mills are also creating fabrics where they can go through the same processes and they are adapted to optimize the chemicals that are more eco-friendly. So I think any one person really can't do much.
Yeah.
But the entire chain has kind of warmed up to the whole environment friendliness, and I am not seeing too much of a challenge. I think denim is probably a leader amongst all the categories to really embrace sustainability and do whatever best can be done on this.
All right, now we are ending this conversation, gentlemen. But before ending, I would like to place a responsibility on your shoulders, Vikas, to give us some parting words, right, on this whole circular supply chain. When we talk about the green supply chain, how does a green supply chain looks like, and how will it look like in the upcoming few years? If you can just briefly tell us about it.
I think in one line, I would say, as a responsible citizen, as a corporate leader, I think we should leave the world better for the next generations, I would say. I think anything that can be done in that direction is something that we love to do. And therefore, I think we should leave it to the next generation, enjoys and is not looking at Mother Earth in a way which is too bad.
All right, lead the next generation in a greener way, perhaps. Right? Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being a part of this discussion. And to our viewers, a shift from linear to circular supply chains isn't just a sustainability goal. It's a smarter way to do business. And as our panelists said, lead the future generations with more greener environment. A big thank you to all our speakers for being a part
Thank
of
you.
this discussion. And this was ET Studios, and we were joining you from the GIRS Summit 2025. I'm Himanshi Tiwari. See you next time with more conversations that shape the future.